Obviously, it's good to see y'all here. Exciting time for us and our program. Start of a new journey, our ninth one. It's crazy to me to think that we've been here for 9 years, but seems like it just keeps getting better as we go along, and just as excited about year 9 as we have been about year 1, and where this program has gone, where these kids have taken us, and I'm looking forward to another exciting journey. I know it's going to be a unique one, like they all have been. We are very new, and I'm excited about that. Also a little bit unsure. That's part of this, not knowing when you have so many new people, but. Talent level is still very, very high. We still have 24 kids that represent the Cowgirl way in a massive way each day, and I'm excited to see where these guys will take us, and going to enjoy each day like I always do. So looking forward to get started this week in California. The weather's been a sense of some sleepless nights out there, not knowing what was going to happen. We were even having discussions about moving games here. The weather is actually going to be better here, but the weather seems to be getting a little bit better out there, and we should be able to get our games in. So we're ready.
Kenny, obviously you mentioned you got a lot of new people. Also, you got a lot of people that were around for a long time that are gone. That seems like maybe even the more difficult part of this, maybe why it feels so different at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about a Kylie and a Cheyenne Factor and a Taylor Tuck, Kelly Maxwell, you start going through all those kids that have been here. We're here for 5 years, and that played major roles here, especially in the middle of our field. That is something that we really don't have right now. So there's it takes us back to like 2019 when we made our first trip to OKC. We had a lot of the same thing. A lot of these kids were first year kids, right? And we had to learn how to win, and we had to learn how to fight, and we had to learn from all of them what it looked like when they got punched in the face and how they were going to respond. We had to know how to coach that. I think we have a better idea of that now that we're in our 9th year. We I don't think there's a lot of surprises, but we have a lot more experience in how to coach that. And so I'm excited, and I think that's what gives you a little bit of uneasiness in your gut, but it's also a good feeling because there would be no need for us to be complacent or to be worried about any of that, which you can get caught up with some of those older teams and older kids and kids that have a ton of experience. So we've talked about a lot about 2019 with this group. Not a lot of people gave us a lot of credit, not a lot of I don't think that anybody thought about us going to OKC. And I look at, I don't pay a ton of attention, to rankings and stuff. I think you guys know that stuff, but I think we're being ranked on our past 4 years as well. I mean, because nobody really knows what this team is capable of what it will do. So that's kind of neat, but it's really, is it fair? I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, Kenny, you obviously made a couple of changes with your coaching staff, with Vanessa doing hitters and Carrie coming in. What impacts have you seen with them being part of the coaching staff?
Yeah, I'm just really happy with those two. Ship's been around here now for a lot of years as in many roles. She's been an integral part of our coaching staff. She's been the recruiting coordinator the last couple of years, and we're seeing a dramatic change in the way we're doing things. I love it. She's got me traveling more than I ever have, which is probably a good thing. That gets me out there, and she's young and hip and keeps us rocking there. So that's been awesome. Our hitters had to make a really tough change. You guys all know that you know this. In December, It was the right change. At the end of each day, I have to do what's best for this program first. I'm going to do what I feel is in the best interest. I've made some good choices in the past. I've made some not so good ones, and not saying that was not trying to throw any shade anyway. It's just I'm going to make the moves that I think are best for us and for the long-term health of this program. And she was able to step right in when I visited with her about what I was thinking about. I just saw the same coach. I didn't see anybody trying to all of a sudden act like they're ready. She's ready, and she's proven that since the day we started in December, and the way she's handled our kids, their mental approach, their physical approach, their emotional approach. She's done it all well. So I've been very happy with her. Carrie's been really good, really good. I think our kids have really responded. There was a lot of unknown. When you bring in somebody, that doesn't have a ton of coaching experience under her belt, and you bring her in with some highly successful kids, who could be set in ways and don't want to change. I knew what the risks were in hiring her. They came true. The part of it that I thought could happen came true. Believe it's why Kelly left. I get that. I think we all do. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I wasn't willing to mortgage our future over 1 year or one player, and so Carrie's handled all that well. I mean, you can imagine she understands that, and she's got to wear that. But it's never affected her one day here. She's just put her head down, went to work, and I think about Kilfoyle. She's gotten better. Rosenberry, I mean, she has really improved here in this one fall, and I'm excited to watch her go out there and compete. And look at our freshman Katie Coots. I think she's having a blast and really starting to figure some things out. And then Kyra, I think she's starting to even with her hard head, she's figuring out some things here that I think are really going to help her long term stay healthy, but also have the ability to add pitches to her repertoire, and so I'm seeing great things from both of them. And I think our kids, I've talked to some of our kids about things like, man, they're on me about everything. And I said, they're on you about every single thing because they love this program more than I do, and that's hard. But they love it more because of one thing. They played here. And they played under us. They understand the Cowgirl way. They were part of setting that. And so they're not going to let you slide with one thing. And that's the standard here. So it's been really cool. And I think when you can explain that to our current kids, it makes a lot of sense fast.
Kenny, does it help that you've got some new catchers along with a new pitching coach so that no one's got to change their ways other than maybe some of your pitchers, but the catcher's going to be, and I assume you're going to play a couple of them the way you've talked, they're on page with the pitching coach.
Yeah, I think it's with Audrey and Caroline, they're going to share time for a while here. We're playing so many games so fast, so both of them are going to share time. Audrey has really improved here. And I would tell you that since Shippy has taken over the catchers, she has made dramatic jumps. So I'm really happy about that. Caroline has always been a kid who has relied on her arm. And now we're trying to really get her to rely on her brain, her experience, and all that kind of stuff. And that comes from Carrie and Vanessa both. And I think both of them, Audrey's, this is her third year here. That people, I think, forget that, but this is her third year. She got hurt her freshman year and missed the entire year with a torn ACL. But this kid this summer or this fall came to me and just said, hey, what do I got to do? Like, just line it out, and she's doing it, and it's been cool. There's going to be a fight behind home plate. My idea is we catch them both, and if Caroline's swinging the bat like her post numbers say, then she becomes your DP. I mean, there's just a lot of those things. So we figure this stuff out as we go along, but there's a lot of options here. I can tell you that there's a lot of options, and it gives us the ability here to play them both. And what you said about the new pitching coach, I think all that is good stuff, really good stuff.
Kenny, your lineup last year was the last few years. So many of those players right at the top that were your biggest bats are now gone. Do you have any sense of what your lineup's going to look like at this point, hitting wise?
No, no, but yeah, I kind of do. I'm really wanting Talon to be our top of the order kid. She's got all of that in her to be that. She can do so many things. She's the best player on this team. And now I need her to be the best leader when stuff goes haywire. I need her to be the example of like kind of how Rachel was this past year. Like you just never knew what if things were good or bad. But there's even more firepower in Talon's bat. We have a young freshman in Carly Godwin that I think right now may be one of the best hitters on our team. And so she'll be at the top of that order, somewhere up there high. You've got Wark, who obviously is coming off a big first year, hitting in the middle of an order with a lot of older type kids. So she's taking a lot of big at bats, and what she doesn't realize yet is she people threw to her last year because they didn't want to get to the next one. And so what she's going to find out now is they're not going to throw to her as much. And so she's going to have to be patient until the people around her, kind of get on their role and set their whoever they are, and what type of hitters that they are. So, I look at Katie Lott, a kid who hit close to 360 last year in limited at bats. I think about 60 at bats. Those are good numbers. That's a good sample size. You'll see her up there. Somebody who's swinging the bat well is Kilfoyle. Maybe the best she's swung it here in her 2 years here. I think since we've been back, I think she's hitting close to 700, which is crazy. Our pitchers are good, so those numbers are strong, and so I'm excited about that. Obviously, Caroline brings that experience. Claire Tim. I mean, these are all kids that have had a lot of college experience, except for Godwin, and not only had experience, but they've come through. So I like what we've got. You've got a Scotty that's sitting back here that hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities because of her health, but is healthy and has had a great fall and a great return. She's going to get a lot of opportunities. So our lineup is going to shift a bunch. Early on, I would say the first 3 weeks, it's going to shift a bunch. We may be moving, we may move people down, up, even if they're going good or not, just to kind of see what is the best mix for this. Again, but like we've always talked through this, I want to be very good at the end, not concerned with the start. I am, obviously you want to win, but I want to figure out what it is that will help us win in May and June. I left out Jillian too. She's had obviously a lot of collegiate success, and her fall wasn't great in our fall games, but her inter squad numbers against our kids were the best that we had. And since we've been back, she's been going really good. So hopefully she's kind of just found her way.
I know this is probably also a hard one to peg at this point, but what about your defensive lineup? I mean, the only thing I can think of that I kind of know for sure is who's at the corners. Everything else seems a little bit up in the air.
Who do you think's there?
I think it's Wark and Blood.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well maybe
how about
I
that?
don't know anything.
I just talked to Talon, here today about something that we're going to try here, the next couple of days that we haven't tried yet. I really don't want to go into that yet, but those people will be in the lineup. I'm just not sure where they're going to be yet. Again, we're trying to put these kids in the best position to be the best that they can be and perform the way they want to. And so we're getting close. I would tell you that you're probably going to see like a Talon and a Blood on the left side. I just don't know in which order yet.
Okay.
Kenny, I think Jenny's questions are spot on, but every baseball, softball coach I've ever known, this is a key question. When you do picture yourself making the lineup out, are you having fun or is it agonizing?
It's a little both. It's a little of both, and it's agonizing for one reason. There are about 12 to 13 hitters that are showing us right now that they should be playing. Like, that is what's hard. And unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunately, and that's why these kids are here, they put a lot of value in, are they in the opening day lineup? When I just told you we're going to have multiple lineups the first week, multiple starters, but they value that in ways they shouldn't, but they do, and I get it. So it's our job to continue to walk them through our perspective, look through our lens, so they understand kind of why we're doing things. They don't have to agree. Like, I don't need a bunch of kids who just agree, but they at least deserve the truth, and they deserve to understand why we're doing things so that they can somewhat have some perspective. And then one day, if they want to coach, they'll hopefully call us back and go, I get it. It's like being a parent, right? Like you can't stand, when your parents are doing things, and then you call your mom or dad and you go, makes a lot of sense now.
But it would be more agonizing if there were only 4 or 5 you were eager to write down.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to be sitting up here, to be honest. Yeah.
As good as last year's lineup was, I feel like the main drawback or the one critique was there wasn't a ton of power. The way I'm reading it into this year, do I have the right read that there's more power in this lineup?
I mean, there's potentially more power. I think there was actually more power in last year's lineup than we showed. I mean, that's the reality, the truth. I was a little disappointed in our power, and I say home runs. Our slugging was pretty good. We had a lot of doubles. We were one of the top teams in the country in that. So I would like to hit more home runs, but I don't want to sacrifice other things. But this team does have power potential, without a doubt. I mean, you look at, there aren't a lot of kids in this lineup that don't have home run potential. And I'm not saying it's all 10 home run, but there's a lot of kids that could hit 7, 8, and there's a few that could hit 15 to 20, to be very honest. I mean, those numbers are there. Like, Jillian has crazy power. It's different when it comes out of her bat, but I don't want to sacrifice her hitting a couple more home runs and 20 more just fly balls. I mean, if she's hitting line drives, then she's at second or third base. So I don't want to sacrifice that type of stuff. So we'll just kind of see what happens. But we've got kids up and down the lineup that can pop home runs. And so I think you may see a little bit more of that. We also have a lot less experience as well. So we'll just kind of see how this thing ebb and flows.
A lot of your big-time transfers over the years have come from other Power 5 programs. Whenever you take a kid from McNeese or take a kid from Liberty, were you at all worried about how they'd adjust to the new level? Yeah,
I think you always worry some. The good thing about Caroline, where she's from, they play a really good schedule. I mean, Dot always tries to get her team ready, because you know that in your conference you can't match up to what you're going to see in the regionals and supers. And so you go play those schedules. I mean, that they played in OKC, I think, this last year against OU. They constantly play games. So when we look at numbers, when we look at transfers, the first thing we do is separate Power 5 teams against mid-major teams. It's the first thing that we do. And it turns us off on a lot of kids, right? Because if they don't put up good numbers against Power 5, that's who we play. We play a lot of Power 5 teams, and we play mostly elite level mid-major teams, especially during the midweek here. They're regional teams, or historically have been. So you have to put those type of numbers up for us to go after you, and both Caroline and Jill have done that. So it didn't affect us. We had numbers against Jill when we played them. She was 3 for 4. We were pretty good, pretty good stuff. So I think as you go along that type of stuff, you just kind of have a plan. I liked what our plan is. I still like the way it's going and the way it's working out, and that's kind of the way we go about that.
In all of college sports, being young is a little bit of a trick nowadays with the portal. Everybody can get old and experienced really quick. But you really liked your freshmen last year, played a lot of them. I get a sense you like your freshmen this year. Can you be young and still be really competitive in the sport nowadays?
I think so. I think we can do anything that we want to do. Honestly, like I really believe that these guys, you can't trick the game and what team means and what program means and what the Cowgirl way means. Like you can't trick that stuff. Like you still have to be. I still don't know of many dysfunctional teams that advance. So we don't have dysfunction. We have a lot of questions, but we don't have dysfunction. This team may love each other as well as any team we've ever had at this point. So I feel very good about that. The competition has been very healthy. We've, since day one, have talked about if we have to play multiple people, that's what we will do. And everybody's handled that well. So I think you can be young. I think you can be inexperienced because it's still softball. We're just going to have to grow up fast. We're going to do that by playing a great schedule, which we've always done, and that's why I've always tried to have it. It'll highlight what you need to improve upon fast, and it will get your attention fast. And so I think we have an amazing group of kids with an amazing staff. I've got a staff. Part of the youth on my staff is what I love about them is that they don't think we'll ever lose. Like, you know what I mean? They're in that deal. Like that's how they think and how they feel. And it helps a guy like me who's a hair older that like, let's just go. Like let's go. Like, let's just play. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And so like, when I was an assistant, I always hated practice. Like I loved games. Because the practice part was just what it was. Now I'm like, I love practice. And the games aren't as much fun as that. So I get their perspective and I get all their stuff. And so I think that this team is really good and can do anything that they want to do.
With Carrie Eberly, will one of the biggest challenges she'll be facing this year just managing this staff? Because it does seem like you've got some depth to work with on that pitching staff.
Yeah, one of the things that we've really dove in on over the off season was the pitching by committee concept, the analytical data that we've been accumulating here over the last couple of years, actually using that, putting that into play, and so. Part of the process of hiring was I want somebody that wants to be a part of that. So she's actually really helping me on that. Like there's a lot of cliffs you're standing over, looking down, going, I'm not sure I want to do that. And she'll remind me that, hey, we talked about this. This is what we wanted to do, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we got to do. And so there's a lot of that learning for me as well, having her to remind me, hey, this is what we want to do. There's going to be some moments where we make really good decisions and they don't work. And there's going to be times where we make really good ones and they do work. So let's just stay true to what we want to do. Okay, let's use your gut, which has been good for a long time, and let's combine all that, and let's just be consistent on how we're going to manage this. And so this game is going to a staff. I'm very been paying close attention to Florida State. I'm a big fan of Lonnie and what she has done and their staff. I've spoken about them numerous times. I love the way that they do their stuff. I think they feel the same way. We talk a lot. And so having them to be able to pick their brain about things and other things and using some of the same people to do that with is pretty neat. So we're going to be more of a staff. That's kind of what whether we had Kelly back or not, we were going to be a staff. We think we've shown that we are kind of at a spot where it's time to kind of take that next step as we go along.
And as part of that, obviously you talked about Ivy and the growth she's made. Where does Katie kind of fall in right now? Obviously being the newest face.
Yeah, Katie's falls in a major way. I mean, she's actually has the most different look out of all of them. So Katie's been really good. I mean, she dances with fire a lot because she's a little bit inconsistent as far as just having command of the strike zone at times. But like when her stuff is there, it's really good, and it's a different look than the others. So she's going to get a lot of work. They're all going to get a lot of work.
Well, you talk about going to the staff concept. I'm wondering, how does that look different? Because you guys have used multiple pitchers. It's not like you've had an ace and ridden any one pitcher for the last few years. How could that look different moving forward? How do you hope it looks different moving forward?
Well, I think you could look at things like we talk about, the most important innings in games are usually 4, 5, 6, and 7. They're the high leverage innings. There's a lot of leverage situations throughout a game where maybe you could, let's use Ivy, for example, maybe she could be an opener where you're looking for her to get 6, maybe 9 outs. And then you go to a Kilfoyle who we think is our lead arm, right? And you go to her to kind of close out games. That's what you see a lot of Florida State and the way they used the Sandra Cock kid. I mean, she didn't start a lot of games, right? But she got the bulk of their innings. So it's a way to kind of leverage the game in certain situations. It's matchups. It's like how does this team swings work against so and so? Well, the two kids that should pitch better against them should be these two. It may not be Lexi in that type of a game because of the way these teams swing. Most programs, they either have kind of like a launch angle type swing or a level type of a swing. So it's like knowing what that is. We have historical data on all these teams now that tells us who they really are. Whether they think they are this is what the numbers say, right? So so we'll use that info to try to set it up to use these kids in the best way.
So you could have a situation where, say, back-to-back games, you might start, or even 3 games in a series, you start the same pitcher, but then finish with somebody different and do that maybe repeatedly.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just see how that works and what the success rate is, and is that team that you're playing, like say in a conference series, are they making the adjustments yet? If they're not, then you're probably going to keep going where you're at.
This might be hard to answer right now because of the way you're talking about the multiple lineups and different things you're doing with players in the field. But do you have a sense of what kind of a defensive team you're going to be?
I do not. I don't like it, to be very honest. But I like who we have. So they could blame me on this. Be very easy to, and I'll take it. I'll wear this. I'm moving them around a lot because I'm trying to find what is going to give us the best chance to win. Like we can say, like in the fall, we were pretty consistent because we had an idea of what we wanted. And then when we got back, we decided, hey, we may need to see some other things first. Let's don't wait until we get into those games. Let's don't be reactive. Let's be proactive. And so that's what I've done. The people that we have out there are capable of being really good. So now just settling in, if I can just get them settled in, and I'm really more talking about our infield. I want to get Talon and Bloodworth and Rose settled in on where they're going to be. Rose has to keep proving that she can do it here as a young kid. We've got a couple others that are like right on her heels, okay? But if I can just get them settled in, I think they'll be really good.
Talk about Rose, then what's made her stand out so far then as a young kid?
Well, she had an amazing fall, like really played well. And then since we've been back, I think is when the freshman stuff can kind of start to hit you when you start looking at our schedule, and you see that there's a little bit more of maybe a sense of urgency on things. And so I think it's been going a hair fast for her since we've been back. It seems like it's getting a little better each day. But there's a sense of urgency here this time of year. And I shouldn't say that there's not during the fall. There is, but it's just a little bit different, right? And so to play shortstop here is not always fun for us. It's tough. I can remember in 19 with Kylie, it was ugly for a bit, like ugly. And Sydney Pennington was holding her hand, and Maddie Sue and all these people here. I had great people around her that had experience or were a little bit older. So that's what we're trying, to figure out and trying to help her with. I've been talking to Talon and Blood about this is where the leadership really comes in. It really comes in. You've been in the fire. You know what this is like, and you probably know what she's going through. So you guys need to grab her, look her in her eyes, and say, "Take a breath. Play softball like you're 8. That's what this is. That game hadn't changed." But it feels like that. And it's going to feel even worse on Sunday when we play UCLA on TV, and Michelle Smith's going to be down on the field and talking to us beforehand, and she's probably going to be like, some of these kids are going to be going, "Oh crap, this is actually real," right? And so that's the kind of stuff that we're working through.
You mentioned with Talon in particular being a leader there. I mean, you talked about her; she's the best player on the team a little bit ago, and you're putting all this emphasis on her to be a leader. When's the last time you put, I guess, that much of an emphasis on such a young, I mean, she's only a sophomore, to be that big of a leader whenever the last couple of years you just had all these experienced players?
I mean, Talon was born to be in this. Like, she's been, I want to say bred to be in this spot, but like in a way she has been. Like, she's been running around the ballpark, chasing her sister around since she was probably 3 or 4. Okay, like, and then when she was like 12 or 13, she was playing on her sister's 18 U team. Like, I watched it. She actually caught Kilfoyle when she was like 13, I think, is young, right? I mean, it was like way back. Like, so like this moment, this situation is not too much for her. I need her with her sitting right back here to be a leader even when it sucks, because that's what leadership is. Even when everything's not going just perfect for you, I need you to be perfect for everybody else. Period. End of story. No questions, no days off. This is what it is. And I only think it will help her be one of the greatest players to ever play here if she can accept that and be able to make that happen. And that's how I feel. Her and I have had some of the most amazing talks through recruitment, through her time here. They don't always end in smiles. There's sometimes tears. There's sometimes tough love. It's what it is. I wouldn't change a thing. And I want her to be that. And this team this program, they need her to be that. She's a dog, man. Like, she can go and she can set the tone single-handedly for this team.
You had her a year early also. How different do you feel like things look if, maybe you don't have talent here last year and she stays through that last year of high school?
I mean, it wouldn't be the same. I mean, she's got a year under her belt. I don't even think of her as being like a freshman in age. I actually think of her more like a kid who's been around here for a long time. It feels like she's been here for a long time, to be very honest. And so and that's why I put stuff on her. If I didn't think she could handle that, like, you don't hear me talking about Rose like that, or Godwin yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. I have a bad habit of putting things on kids too young, and I've kind of backed off on that a little bit. I've got kids here like Scotty, been around here for a long time. I need her to be communicating and representing the Cowgirl way. I need talent who's been around here for plenty of time to be doing the same thing. These are kids that understand what's going on. They know the expectation. They know it's hard. Okay, nothing for those two that I'm talking about. Nothing in the last 5 years has been very easy. Okay, so they can handle it.
Probably just one or two more.
You've had a couple of different hitting coaches over the last few years now, and some different strategies from them. How does Vanessa approach that, and where do you see her style kind of falling in?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, like, I think we've just had one kind of drastic strategy that that I thought would really help us, and obviously I made a change in that with Jeff. Like, Jeff, we were kind of a little bit more like we are now. We were kind of a little bit more open. The difference with Vanessa is she's pretty intuitive about little things. There's a pretty good system of absolutes that are defined. They're up in our room, like, our kids see it each day. They're not anything, I don't think, anything new of what these kids have heard. So I think we're kind of back to who we've always been, with a little bit more direction, a little bit more going back to a foundation that we built early. And so that's kind of where I'm at. She's doing a really good job. I think, you could talk to these kids about that. I think they could give you a better deal. I'm going to be very honest. I've stayed very far away from our hitters. And I've done that for a reason. I don't want Vanessa thinking that I'm looking over her shoulder. I trust her 1,000%. We've talked about hitting for years. I love what she's up to. I try to pick these kids off one at a time and talk to them about how they feel. How do you like what we're up to? And the answers are incredible. And so it's letting me just kind of be who I am, and that's be the people guy and keep everybody good spirits and making sure that they're in a good spot, and let my coaches coach, and be a voice of reason for them as well. I think, like you said, I don't think I can run from. We've had a couple different ones, but I think I'm set where I want to be. Feel good. She was the runner-up in the previous one. Maybe if I'd have hired her then, who knows? But it is what it is. We had a really good year this past year, and can't take that away too.
You obviously had Lexi in a lot of really high-pressure situations. She pitched in some big moments a year ago. But now, like you said, that lead arm, does that take a different mentality when you take that role fully on? And what makes you think maybe she's capable of doing that?
Well, I think, we've talked about it. Her and I talked about this over the summer when I was talking to her about Carrie. And I didn't really talk to her about, hey, we don't really talk about the ace. We've never really have talked about that. That's stuff that other people say. They just assume. I mean, if you guys really want to cut to the chase, down the stretch last year, she was the ace. I mean, she pitched incredible the whole year, but I could probably be second guessed, and it'd be very, it would be very worthy of being second guessed why we didn't throw her more. I mean, when I go back and watch all of those games, I'm like, the dumbass is me who doesn't have her in the game more, to be very honest. And you get caught up on what people have done in the past instead of what's happening right underneath your feet. So, I mean, if you guys want to use that term, I mean, she was that all of last year or most of last year, and at least when it was high leverage time. And so I have not really talked to her about being the ace. I've just talked to her about being a little more vocal, like grabbing these young guys and just, you don't have to say a lot, but just check on them, make sure that they're good. I see that out of her. I see her, involved. She's like grandma here, you know what I mean? She's very calm, she's just like, everybody migrates to her. You can watch it. Like, she's the gentle giant, right? They just they nestle up to her. Like, she's an incredible kid, great family. She's been in this moment her whole life. When she came here, she said, I just want to be part of a staff. And I think she looks at this the same way. And we haven't gone to her and said, hey, you're number one. I think she probably knows where she stands. She's been in this for a long time, and we're going to try to use her in the best situations that help this team win games. And that's kind of the way we've gone about that ideal. There are some kids I've coached that are like, I am the ace. Call me the ace, right? Like, I'm like, okay. But that's what makes you feel good and go to bed at night, great. That's not her, and that's what makes her great.
We'll probably call it there for Coach.